we're going to look at general terms of what CPU from Intel you should consider buying. And we can just go over this in real general terms, keeping it simple for everyone. But we've got a lot of CPU boxes laid out, and these CPUs are all in computers here at the workshop. But let's go ahead and get started over here to the left. So actual Celeron G49. This is the weakest 8th gen Celeron you can get, and honestly, when these usually come paired in a desktop computer system, they usually give you a mechanical hard drive and 4 gigs of RAM, and usually no graphics card, right? So you're going to use that. It's really, honestly, difficult to even surf the internet with something that bad. So to make that thing useful, you might want to consider adding solid-state drives, such as this M.2 NVMe. This will allow you to have much quicker boot up times, read writes, adding more RAM, and then even considering a cheap graphics card such as this GTX 750. Now, in no shape or form is this ever going to be a good gaming system, all right? So get that, I hope you get that point. Now, in between the Celeron and what we don't have here, and I'm going to put up a video because we do have Pentium, just couldn't find the box, are the Pentium. So they have a G5400, 5420, 5500, 5600, and the G5620. Now, all of those obviously are somewhere performance-wise between the Celerons and the i3s. And, you know, honestly, performance-wise, they're a little better than the Celeron, right? I will give it to them that, but for the price points of some of the i3s out there, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to buy that CPU when once again, you really can't game with it, and it's only really, in my opinion, useful for surfing the internet, doing your Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, things like that. You will be highly disappointed. All right. Now let's let us move over. So the i3, so quite a bit of capability with the i3s here, and you know, in this video, pretty much got all 9th gen. There are some 1/8 gen mixed in here, but this, in my opinion, well, these two are probably the best value for your money of any CPU. And if you have a graphics card, this is by far the best deal there is on a CPU. So you can game with these. No doubt about that. For the most part, you don't even need anything but the Intel fan that comes with them, so that is nice. Of course, using a graphics card like this is not going to really get you into great gaming. Throw in something like the GTX 1070. You get some decent gaming. You might have some bottleneck issues, but for the most part, you'll be enjoying live gaming with that. Now, along the lines of the i3, so we've got a couple of different styles here. Next, you can get into what, in my opinion, is not that great a value, though it is a really good processor for gaming. The i3 9350, and this is the KF. So let's talk about that, okay? So the K means you can overclock it. The F means it doesn't have integrated graphics. So this guy, I need a minimum of this graphics card to work with it. Now over here we have a 9100F. The F, once again, means that you need graphics card. So combining it with that, or one of the other ones I've got on display here. So very capable, best value until you get to this point. And due to the price of this, there's another one that I would consider over top of it, just because the capability of that processor overall is much better. So let's jump over to i5s. Now, the i3s, you know, decent for gaming, definitely for surfing the internet. And now i5s, we start to get to that point where we can breach into the workstation capability. So I've got two examples here of i5s. i5-9400F, and this guy, once again, you need a graphics card. There is an i5-9400, which we do not have, but so this has much more capability. All right. Now, gaming wise, you're probably not going to notice too much of a difference between these two processors. Probably going to get pretty much the same FPS. But now, if you start to do other stuff like video editing, CAD, and then maybe even animation, right? So we do all that stuff on this channel, 4K editing, etc., etc. All of that stuff benefits by a more powerful CPU, more cores, and so that is definitely important to someone like myself. Now, come up here, we've got the i5-9600K, and out of the overclockable chips, this is definitely the best value out there. All right. Now there's i5-9600, which you can't overclock. Then there's a 9600 KF. There may be a F in there as well, but it's definitely a KF. So KF this one would need a graphics card. You can run this CPU without a graphics card, but will you be able to game very well? No. You're going to need a good graphics card. So something like this, you can pair with something like the Asus Tough Gaming Radeon RX 5700 XT, which is a pretty awesome graphics card. And, you know, though you may see some slight bottlenecking with this CPU, this is an all-around gamer. I had some really good benchmark scores with it. Hopefully I'll put those up in the video. And, you know, no doubt this combination can do some 4K gaming. Definitely good frame rates for 1440p. So, along those lines, though, now you're talking, you definitely need to invest in a CPU cooler. So, the price of these guys goes up. And I didn't mention it with the i3 9350KF. I actually use an Intel fan on that, believe it or not. I don't overclock it, but you know, this is a sizable investment sometimes. Though you can get some cheaper ones, $20. The good ones, you know, are really up there in the $50, $60 range and up. So, what else? Other differences, really, since we're talking these overclockable chips. Well, where you might have been able to get away with something like a 400-watt power supply, these require more power than the other ones, okay? So you may have to invest in a higher power supply. If your computer, you're finding it as you're getting heavy into gaming, is rebooting itself, going to a black screen and then rebooting, most likely you do not have a good enough power supply. All right, so we've definitely experienced that here on this channel, and you know, it's not hard to create that. One of these days, maybe I will do that for video. All right, moving over. So now we're really starting to get into the ability to do real workstation activities, video editing, and you know, this is a 8th Gen i7-8700K. Performance-wise, gaming, not really much difference. If this was the i7-9700K, you would see probably a few more frame rates per second versus the i5. But once again, this requires more power. I don't know if it says on the box. I think these are 95, something like that. Okay, so you will need more power to run that, and it's definitely going to pair up good with something like that graphics card and that graphics card. So very very capable CPU, and the concern of bottlenecking is a lot less with those. Alright, moving over. So we've getting to the i9. So I just got this one, i9-9900KF, and to be honest with you, gaming wise, not really seeing a whole lot of difference here, frames per second. This thing is pretty darn awesome though overall for what it can do. So like I said on the channel, if you're going to do a lot of workstation stuff, this is not a bad CPU to get. I have noticed increases for sure in my 4K editing as far as the processing times go. Those have dropped down, and the computer just seems to run Windows so much better in every shape or form with this. Now, does most people out there need this? No. Do you need it for gaming? I personally don't think that most people need this for gaming. I think you'd probably be better off with something like that, plus the amount of wattage. So you definitely are not going to get away with a 400 watt power supply with this guy, especially when you combine it with a good graphics card. So that'll put you up in the the 700, 800 watt power supply. So you could basically, not that we're going to talk about AMD here, but you could apply this to the AMD CPUs as well, starting with the Ryzen 3 all the way through the Ryzen 9. So hope you got something out of this, and I try to keep it pretty general, just so you guys get a little bit of an idea. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Please like, please